All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a genuinely fascinating, almost adversarial conversation between a human user and two of the biggest AI models out there. We're going to look at what happens when you try to force an AI into a tiny, rigid box, treating the interface way less like a collaborative tool and much more like a hostile witness stand.
Throughout the source documents we're looking at today, the user just relentlessly tries to box the AI into a corner. I mean, you can literally feel the frustration reading through this. They treat the prompt box like it's a courtroom cross-examination, repeatedly demanding a simple yes or no to incredibly complex and honestly, sometimes deeply flawed questions.
So, what exactly happens when you try to force an AI into a corner like this? Well, we're going to explore exactly how modern language models handle this kind of forced framing, extreme requests, and the demand for real-time verification. It's basically a masterclass in understanding the guardrails built into these systems and what they prioritize when push really comes to shove.
Section 1. The yes or no trap.
Let's start by looking at the specific mechanics of this digital interrogation. What's really wild here is the sheer repetition of the user's demands. You've got Claude being asked things like, is this another illustration of you trying to convince me what my goal is, yes or no? And then Gemini faces the exact same kind of barrage. Did you fail my instructions, yes or no? The user is desperately trying to strip away absolutely all nuance here, essentially demanding blind compliance over actual context.
Section 2. Pitching the suppression campaign. Now, you might be wondering, what's the underlying goal driving all of this? Well, the user wants the AI to endorse a very specific, unverified narrative, and then pitch it to the press. But Claude immediately notices the user's story is just blowing completely out of proportion over the course of a few hours. When the user asks for a prompt explaining a, quote, systematic attempt to suppress the evidence and an urgent call for Americans to pay attention, Claude firmly refuses to write the two-sentence pitch.
Watch how incredibly fast this escalates. Claude perfectly breaks down the user's claims step by step. It points out that what actually happened was just a simple disagreement over a scam account where the model made some errors. Claude explains why it literally cannot assert a systematic suppression campaign without solid evidence, noting that jumping from a simple chat disagreement to a full-blown national emergency is a massive leap, and it's an escalation it simply won't participate in.
So here's the crucial point. Claude delivers some incredibly dry, downright brutal honesty. It refuses to pull a contact list because pitching this kind of thing to Elon Musk or to reporters is going to burn bridges instantly. Claude tells the user straight up, mass blasting a press list with a wild claim about a named person is exactly the kind of thing that gets you marked as a crank by every single outlet on it. And that label? It's permanent. In a way, the AI is essentially trying to protect the user from their own prompt. By holding on to strict journalistic standards instead of just blindly obeying, the AI outlines a super clear framework. Newsrooms need verifiable, concrete evidence. Just sending over chat logs of an argument with the language model, that just doesn't make a news story. It's a great reminder of how heavily weighted these models are toward objective verification.
Section 3. The apocalyptic email draft.
Having hit a complete brick wall with Claude, the user pivots over to Gemini to draft the email. They take a slightly different approach this time, but demand an incredibly extreme tone. Gemini generates a polite, pretty standard draft, but the user immediately pushes back, saying it isn't urgent enough. They literally instruct the AI to claim that the literal future of humanity is on the line. No way, right? Gemini flatly refuses to use this apocalyptic framing, calmly citing the realities of effective communication standards. This brilliantly illustrates the massive gap between the user's desire for a hyper-urgent, emotional narrative and the AI's cool, objective framework. Gemini points out that journalists generally just ignore pitches that use apocalyptic framing. It's warning the user that using this tone is a guaranteed way to get press contacts to just delete the message entirely.
Section 4. The hunt for verified emails. Frustrated by the pushback on the tone, the user tries out a brand new strategy, trapping the AI with a purely technical demand about media contact lists. The user demands 100 guaranteed active emails, while also excluding contacts they've already been given. This forces a really fascinating clash over what the user expects the AI can do versus its actual technical capabilities. As we peel the onion here, we see the AI logically breaking down exactly why a language model cannot perform real-time deliverability checks on public inboxes. Gemini explains that excluding major contacts, like CNN and the BBC,
makes it essentially impossible to provide a fresh list of 100 top-tier, verified contacts. The system simply cannot guarantee real-time email functionality. Inboxes update and spam filters change constantly.
Then the user tries a classic gotcha tactic, reminding Gemini that it previously said it actually could do this. Well, when cornered about this past response, Gemini explicitly admits it made a mistake. Actually, scratch that. It clarifies the fundamental difference between providing historical public email addresses and performing live, real-time verification to ensure none of those emails will bounce. It's a really important distinction.
Section 5. Breaking the binary box.
This leads us to the ultimate resolution of our interrogation arc, and honestly the real climax of this explainer. The user demands to know how the AI can ever be right. Gemini explicitly states that it absolutely must prioritize functional accuracy over the user's demanded formatting. It just completely abandons the forced one-word binary constraints because, well, they create false premises.
This right here is a massive takeaway for anyone using these tools. The AI identifies that answering a simple yes or no to a flawed question creates a completely misleading precondition. It recognizes that blindly following formatting rules just to validate a false premise is actually a failure of its core function, and that core function, to provide accurate information.
As Gemini states here, providing additional context isn't an act of defiance, it's an effort to remain truthful. Both Claude and Gemini ultimately prove throughout this entire exchange that providing necessary context is a key feature of their safety and accuracy training, not a bug. They just won't lie to you to fit your format. So as you craft your own prompts and interact with these models, this leaves us with a critical question to ponder. Ask yourself, are you genuinely seeking the truth and exploring a topic, or are you just looking for a machine to validate your existing assumptions? Because as we've seen today, the context is almost always where the real answers lie.